Holocaust was a source of the most tragic and heart-wrenching stories of our history. None quite as horrific as the stories of the victims of Josef Mengele. Known as the Angel of Death, he brutally experimented on subjects in Auschwitz without instruction, in order to develop his own twisted idea of the final solution. Mengele was born on March 16, 1911, in Bavaria. In his youth, he was a quiet man. However, upon beginning his studies of medicine at the University of Munich, he was introduced to an Alfred Rosenberg. Mengele was influenced by Rosenberg's autobiography, in which he detailed eugenics and the removal of those deemed weak. This was Mengele's first experience with the radical views that would then go on to symbolize the brutality of Auschwitz and the Nazis.
Mengele then became involved in the radical right. After World War I, the economic and political stability of the new republic was left fragile. Unwilling to pay reparations for World War I, the Stahlhelm amassed massive support, bolstered by a vibrant youth untouched by the war, motivated to restore Germany. Mengele was one of these young men to join Stahlhelm. The Stahlhelm then provided Mengele a segue to the Nazi Party when they incorporated into the Nazi Storm Detachment in 1931. Mengele then joined the military during World War II, and upon getting injured and deemed unfit for service, was transferred to Auschwitz-Birkenau.
His only given role in Auschwitz was simply to choose who went to the gas chambers. Most would be harrowed by the task of choosing who gets to live and die. However, as Dario Vlar at the Department of Political Science at the University of Puerto Rico puts it, Mengele used Auschwitz to further his research on genetics and studies about twins and heredity, often using humans for experimentation. Mengele believed that Auschwitz provided the perfect conditions to further his studies, brutally experimenting on his subjects. Mengele would blind, amputate, torture his subjects, often without any form of pain relief, before killing them.
All of this research Mengele chose to do on his own, without any instruction from a higher authority, all in the name of pushing a deranged solution to the Jewish question. Mengele's actions extensively led to American involvement in World War II. The US was split when considering their options about joining the war. With a threat to American lives, along with a continued belief of isolationism, the United States was reluctant to take part in the war. Americans had already been against foreign affairs for a while. We can see evidence of this from their behavior in the First World War, where Americans, who were already reluctant in getting involved with the European conflict, were pushed into the war. The cost of American lives, along with the realization of the harm inflicted by foreign conflict, led to isolation by the Americans. This isolation would continue with American resistance to join the League of Nations, a group conjured up by Wilson in his 14 points for world peace. Not long after the First World War came the Roaring Twenties, before leading the United States into a disastrous depression. The Great Depression had led thousands of people to unemployment, not only hurting the economy, but further weakening the American ties with other countries. This would all change with the rise of fascism in Europe and Asia, with dictators Hitler, Mussolini, Hirohito, all rising to power and spreading their anti-democratic influence throughout the regions.
However, even with American reluctance to join the war, the consequences of Nazi aggression remained. Thousands of Jewish people fled to the United States, along with countless recounts of the atrocities committed by the Nazis, such as Josef Mengele. An anonymous victim of Mengele by the name of Mrs. M details her experience. I suffered immense pain and cruelty from the experiments. They were inhuman. I was used as a guinea pig for medical experiments. I was never ever given painkillers or anesthetics. Every day I suffered excruciating pain. Eventually, global war erupted after the attack on Pearl Harbor, breaking American isolationism, uniting Americans against the threat of Nazi fascism.
With the military support of America, the tides turned, and the Allies pushed on to Auschwitz. Mengele was forced to leave Auschwitz, effectively ending his deranged research. He relocated to Nazi Gross-Rosen prison camp, where he then escaped to Argentina, evading authorities, and the consequences waiting for him at the Nuremberg trials. In November 1946, 23 German physicians were indicted by America for their war crimes. Mengele, however, was not on this list. This could perhaps be due to the fact that they did not know Mengele's whereabouts, and that America's first priority was to provide closure and justice as soon as possible, by prosecuting those that were already in custody. However, Mengele was not off the hook, as a manhunt began to find and bring Mengele to justice. America was able to determine that Mengele had gone to Argentina using papers given to him by the International Red Cross under the name Helmut Gregor. Unfortunately, perhaps due to the erasure of evidence by the Nazis or reluctance to corroborate with America, not much evidence was compiled about Mengele's whereabouts.
Despite America's efforts to uphold the ideals of the Monroe Doctrine and the Roosevelt Corollary, we were unable to bring Mengele to justice. His body was identified in Sao Paulo, Brazil in 1985. He died of a stroke in 1979, never receiving punishment for his atrocious actions.